Good afternoon and a warm welcome to this webinar on Postgraduate Programs 2023. My name is Rajgopal and I'm part of the outreach team here at Azim Premji University, speaking to you from the wonderful city of Bangalore and at a town called Sarjapura, right? That's emphasis. The session is very important for us and personally special for me. And as I get a chance to directly interact with the postgraduate program aspirants, right? I'm never tired of saying this, right? What I'm going to say now, that the social development sector in today's India, right? It provides a variety of work opportunities, a clear career path for the youth. To do what? To reduce the gap between what kind of a society we want and what kind of a society we are, right? But the question is, do we have enough trained professionals in these key domains of education, development, and allied areas? So that's what we'll do in today's webinar. We'll try to unpack how our academic programs, especially the postgraduate programs, would give you the competence, capacities, the perspectives for social change to work in the development sector, right? So I'm going to bring in, use a couple of slides so that it makes sense what we are talking. So yeah, so a quick intro to Azim Premji University in my next slide. I'm not going to read out the numbers, but it's probably it will give you a good idea of where we stand as of today. We started in 2011, and we offer postgraduate programs, undergraduate programs, diploma programs, right? We are a 1,400 student university. A lot of graduates out there working for sustainable social change out there. But there are some key elements that I'd like to introduce to you as students who would be joining Azim Premji University. What broadly guides us, right, is the philanthropic nature of the university, right? Number one. Second, what drives us, guides us is a clear social purpose, right? So I'm not going to too much of the details, but you should understand as listeners that the philanthropy part of it gives us the opportunity to provide access to a large number of students to pursue education with us, right? But let it be in terms of need-based scholarships and other support that they will require to pursue education with us, right? Second is the social purpose, right? Our vision is that, whatever we do, right, let it be degree, diploma, the continuing education program, the publication that comes out of Azim Premji University, the research that we do in critical areas, all that should contribute towards making ours a better society, right? That is a much more just, equitable, humane, and sustainable society. See, at one end, we can clearly really be proud of what we have achieved as a nation. I mean, but the other end, we should accept that we have miles to go, right, in terms of access, equity, and justice, right? So, coming to the next slide, I told you I'm speaking to you from Bangalore. We are at Bangalore, and this is one side view of the campus. If you are anywhere closer to Bangalore, you're more than welcome to visit us. We're more than happy to host you here on the campus. But the news is that we are also will be having Azim Premji University Bhopal very soon. So once we have all the approvals, we'll be announcing admissions, and the programs would start in 2023, right? Now, today's webinar, before I invite the faculty members to interact with you, you can see we have carefully chosen domains that we are interested in preparing professionals for the social sector of education, development, economics, 1 year LLM in law, and we are also launching Master of Public Health soon in 23. Today's webinar is focused on the three programs that's highlighted, right? Because these are the three programs that we have invited applications for what we call the first round or the early round. And this is for, it could be a fresh graduate who's going to graduate in 2023, or it could be somebody who is working and wanting to join the social sector. So it's open for all. So today's talk will focus on these three programs, and in the order of what you see here. What you probably, as aspirants to Azim Premji University, should understand is the next level details of the program, right? When I say next level, I mean, how is the 2 years or the 4 semesters, or if it's LLM 1 year, how is it organized? What will I get to learn? Is there field practice? What kind of roles are these programs preparing you for? So it's best that you listen directly to the faculty members rather than listening to my talk here. I'm going to introduce my colleague Sindhu. So she's going to be talking to you about the MA education program. So before I hand it over to Sindhu, quick introduction. She teaches here, and of course, in MA education program. Her background is in science education, but deeply interested in how children learn science. Right? I was reading about her idea of hybrid spaces that children create and develop, rather than in a classroom, where she's trying to. I mean, that's where her interest is, where the socio-cultural background of the child and the science world are probably interconnected, right? So when I'm taking the liberty of calling them by name directly, but they're all experts in the field. You should look up on the website to want to read their articles and what their or their area of work. With that very small introduction, Sindhu, over to you to talk about our MA education program. I'll go back behind the scenes. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Rajgopal. Happy to talk about the MA education program, and good evening to everyone present here. So we have been running the MA education program since 2011, but about 3 years back, we decided to do a review of our program. And what you see today is actually a reflection of the changes that we brought about in our curriculum and the different components and courses that we offer as part of the program. So first of all, to understand education from a practitioner's perspective and to develop educational practitioners, that was the central goal, the aim of the MA education program. And therefore you see that the objectives that are on this slide are reflective of that, right? So first of all, to understand educational theory and practice from an educational practitioner's perspective, right? Which is that we do not, of course, artificially try to separate theory and practice, but we do engage with theory quite deeply through the core courses as well as the electives. But we would like to develop educational practitioners who are able to understand how theory is represented in the field, reflect on their experiences, and therefore bring about this deeper, nuanced understanding of theory and practice. Secondly, to develop knowledge of curriculum and pedagogy in a particular school subject area. So all of you would, those of you who are potential applicants, those who have already applied, would have taken, some kind of, a subject test or some kind of questions which will test your subject competence. And that will help us understand whether you are a good fit for a subject area that you will choose and stay with as part of the program. And why is this important? Because anchoring yourself in a subject area is critical to understanding not just the classroom, but also, how the classroom is situated in this larger social and political context, which is also something that we are deeply interested in and we connect with. Thirdly, to develop capabilities to design and implement specific educational actions. So as part of your field practice and field work, which I will come to eventually, you will be engaging with teaching, with teacher support work. You will try and support some of our interventions in the field. So you will develop the necessary capabilities to be able to design and implement these educational actions. And fourthly, to be part of a community of educational practitioners through direct experience. So all the work that you do will be as part of a larger community of practitioners. And therefore, it's important to be able to understand and live with competing views, to be able to discuss it, to arrive at consensus, to be able to move forward in any kind of program that is being implemented. And that is done through a deep engagement with direct experience through the program. So I'll just take you now through the entire curriculum. This is, of course, there is a lot for you to take in over here. And those of you who are interested, there is a lot available on our website. You can look at our program document as well. but I will just focus on some key components of our curriculum, right? So first of all, we have what is called the foundational or the core courses, right? And they are highlighted in dark blue here. There are, of course, there are also other field practice components that are highlighted in dark blue. But if you look at semester one, right, the column semester one, you notice that there are these courses given, and nearby there are these numbers which indicate the credits, right? Not to worry too much about it, but just to show you how all of this adds up, right, in our larger scheme of things. So you have philosophy of education, sociology of education, child development and learning, and introduction to school systems, right, in semester one. Then in semester two, you have curriculum studies, you have schools as organizations, right? For the moment, I'm just reading out the names. So all of these constitute core courses. I'll come to that in a bit. Then in semester three, you have teacher professional development, you have preparation for field practice. In semester four, you have field research 2, and you also have what's called a consolidation of program experience, right? Now, all of these courses are core, which means all of you have to take it. It is foundational in a certain sense, which means it builds certain basic capabilities that we expect all students in the education program to have, right? So, for example, basic questions such as what is education, right? How does a child acquire knowledge? What are key institutions working in the public education system, and how do we organize content based on the aims of education, all of that, right? So lots of important critical questions that help introduce you to the whole field of education are brought about through the core courses, right? But equally important are what we call elective courses, right? Now, in electives, as the name indicates, elective seems to give you a choice, right? And there is a choice available. But there are two categories of electives that we are looking at. So if you look at the right side of this screen, the slide, you see something called compulsory elective, which seems like a paradox, right? That you're forced to take an elective. But as I just mentioned, all of you have chosen, have opted for a subject area, right? In which you are anchored through your entire program. And these electives, these compulsory electives are a set of 4 electives that we call curriculum and pedagogy electives, right? So if you look at the semester 2 column, you have curriculum and pedagogy 1, curriculum and pedagogy 2, and in semester 3, you have curriculum and pedagogy 3, curriculum and pedagogy 4, right? So you have 4 such courses which engage with the nature of a particular subject area. For example, if it is science, right? The nature of science, a historical trajectory, which helps us understand, what led to the development of what we call as methods, right? Methods of science. How is knowledge constructed in science, right? So from there to understanding how is a curriculum organized in science, how are textbooks written up, what could be aims of science education, therefore, what could be appropriate practices, pedagogic practices, which means how do we facilitate teaching and learning of science meaningfully for all children? How do we assess knowledge and understanding? How do we develop materials so that there is meaningful teaching and learning in the classroom and learning at the end of it? So these are questions that we deal with in the 4 curriculum and pedagogy courses. And depending on the area that you have chosen or opted for, you will have to take all the 4 courses in your area, right? So the areas that we have, subject areas that we have are science education, social science education, language education, math education, and early childhood education as well, right? Which may not be called a subject area, but those of you who've been following the new education policy, as well as the curriculum framework that has just been released, the NCF foundational stage, would know that the ages, the grades, first and second grades are also now part, right, of what's called a foundational stage, and therefore it's very important to deal with that age group in a meaningful manner, right? So you have all of these electives which are compulsory electives in a certain sense. And then you have another set of electives in semester 4, right? 3 electives, elective 1, elective 2, and elective 3, which are, from a wide variety of electives, not necessarily linked to your subject area, right? So it could be related to advanced research on program design and evaluation. It could be related to, Naitalim. It could be linked to ethics, right? So various areas which draw from multiple themes of interest and may not be linked to your subject area. So you have a wider choice over there in the 4th semester, right? Then, if you notice, there are these field practice components, as I just mentioned while I was in the previous slide. Field practice is a central part of the MA education program. In the 1st semester, you have, a short, what we call a field immersion, right, where you have 2 weeks in the field institutes of the Azim Premji Foundation. So we draw extensively from our network of field institutes around the country in some of the most disadvantaged areas for the field practice of MA education students. So in the first field practice component, students go to various field institutes and they immerse themselves in the public education system. And that is described by several students as an eye-opener. It challenges your entrenched beliefs and also the privilege that many of us hold, and also helps you connect a lot of what you've been learning in the core courses to what is happening in the field. Then in semester 2, we have what's called Field Practice 2, and that is like an organizational internship. So you work with an organization, try and understand how does an organization intervene in education, how do they design their programs, and what can we understand about not only the intervention but also how an organization functions. And in semester 3, we have a long field practice component, which is something we introduced for the first time. Our students, 3rd sem students, are currently in the field at this time in various district institutes of the Azim Premji Foundation doing their field practice 3, which is for a good 3 months, right, from October to December. And during this large field practice component, they are involved with teaching in government schools, in supporting teachers, in doing research, right? So all of these are components of the field practice 3. And also there are these 2 courses, curriculum and pedagogy 4 and teacher professional development. There's an asterisk mark there if you notice. Both of these are taught in the field, right, by our field faculty in the district institutes, in our field institutes, right? So that's also something that is new in this revamped curriculum. And so these are the 3 large field practice components. We also have a practicum, which is linked with schools in the vicinity of the university, where students go to every week and try and engage with particular tasks and work around the courses that run during a semester, right? And then there is, of course, these individual courses, which I'm happy to talk about if there is time later. So we have each of these courses which contribute to an understanding of, based on perspectives, on, an understanding of the school subject area, on what it takes to ask good questions in education, investigate it, and also electives which explore various areas linked to education, thematic areas which may be of interest. Now, there's another course over here which I haven't spoken about as yet, which is the open course, right? Now, there are 2 open courses that all students have to take. And one open course is offered by the School of Education, and it is broadly in the area of art and education. But you have specific courses related to puppetry, to theater. So you have, so these courses, while they are linked to creative expressions and art and aesthetics, it is meant to be, it is implemented by educational practitioners who have tried to link art and education, use it as a pedagogic approach, and therefore it is, and it's a mandatory course for all MA education students. In addition, you have one open course, which is across postgraduate programs, and that will be in a whole range of areas: film, music, bird watching, right? Various topics that you may be interested in exploring, not necessarily linked to your core areas or the curriculum. Yeah. And a quick word about the career opportunities. We've had this program running since 2011, and the first batch passed out in 2013. So we've had students now working in a wide variety of spaces, primarily with NGOs, non-governmental organizations. They work with teachers as teacher educators in designing and implementing programs in CSR, corporate social responsibility initiatives, and also with smaller groups working on curriculum development. They also work, as some of them do work as teachers as well. While this isn't a teacher certification program, we do have students exploring alternative spaces, experimental schools, and practicing teaching as well, right? So, but of course, the vision of the program is that all graduates do contribute to the public education system meaningfully on the completion of their program. Yeah. Yeah, so I'll stop here and maybe later on come back to take questions. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Sindhu. I'm just going to take off from what you said to contribute to the public education system in the country, right? I think for those who joined late, we just were talking about the MA education program, and you should know when we're talking about public education, we're talking about a country with close to uh, 300 million 30 crore, right? 30 crore school-going children, if I include early childhood, right? Studying in across uh, 15 lakh schools in the country, and with around 80 to 90 lakh teachers. And clearly, the system needs trained professionals. You cannot be bringing about change in education without an understanding of the domain of education. So what I understood, Sindhu, is the curriculum is to prepare them for variety of roles that they would take up in the education space, right? Some of them could be teacher educators, some of them could be curriculum designers, some of them may work as program managers and working on issues of access and things like that. Some of them even could do research in education, right, which could guide different programs. So
Yes.
uh, that's it. I mean, I think thank you. And before we go into MA development, I just want to bring to your notice that the structure of the postgraduate programs at Azim Premji University is a set of core courses, electives, field practice. Right. That's the broader structure. And some of the core courses are compulsory, which is required, right? Which is required for you to have what we broadly call Hindi. When somebody want to speak in Hindi, I can't speak. My Hindi is limited, right? To build drishtikon, right, or build perspectives in education. You can't just use technology and bring about change in education. So thank you. With that, I'll bring you back again to answer specific question on MA education. I'm going to bring in Nilotpal soon onto this screen. With the next program, we are moving into the MA development, and I'll request my colleague Nilotpal to join. And I'm just reminding, I'm
Yes.
just tempted to remind students who are watching that the program here is MA in development and not development studies for a specific reason. Right? It is the broad idea of the program is to prepare you for development action, if I can say so. Nilotpal is deeply interested in issues of farmer and farming, and trying to understand through what is called the framework of political economy and culture, right? So that's where his interest is. He teaches courses in both MA development and also in our diploma programs. Nilotpal, I'm also a reminder of my conversation with you when I was quite new to Azim Premji University, where you said, Rajgopal, let's talk about planned social change. So, so I'm just reminded of the social change that we want to see on the ground for the community. It cannot happen unplanned, right? With that, over to you so that the
Sure.
participant can know about our view of development.
Sure.
Yes, because I mean, somebody is saying to speak in Hindi. I know I can confidently request Nilotpal to speak in Hindi. I could not have. I mean, I wouldn't assume that everybody would know every language, but कोशिश तो करेंगे. बट ऐसा भी है कि अब हिंदी में बात करेंगे तो बाकी लोगों को, काफी सारे लोगों को समझ में नहीं आएगा ना देश में. बट with that we will still try to speak in Hindi. Yeah, over to you.
थैंक यू राजगोपाल. मैं कोशिश करूंगा, आई विल ट्राई टू स्पीक बोथ इन इंग्लिश एंड हिंदी, ताकि जो भी लोग दोनों दोनों भाषाएं जानते हैं उनको थोड़ी सहूलियत हो. सो MA डेवलपमेंट प्रोग्राम is offered at the university. It's a very popular program. The largest number of students in the university go for this program. और इसमें मुख्य तौर पे 3 चीज़ों के बारे में हम कोशिश करते हैं कि 3 चीज़ों के ऊपर हमारा भार हो, एक एम्फेसिस हो. तो आप जैसे स्लाइड में देख सकते हैं कि ये प्रोग्राम जो है वो MA डेव, और राजगोपाल ने भी कहा इट्स MA डेवलपमेंट प्रोग्राम एंड नॉट MA डेवलपमेंट स्टडीज प्रोग्राम. उसकी सबसे बड़ी वजह इस स्लाइड में आपको दिखेगी. So the program tries to give students a grounded understanding of India's development journey. So यहाँ पे सबसे important जो शब्द है वो understanding है. और अंडरस्टैंडिंग का मतलब आप समझ लीजिए या दृष्टिकोण समझ लीजिए, जैसा अभी उन्होंने कहा. और ये दृष्टिकोण विकसित करने के लिए, उसको डेवलप करने के लिए वी ट्राई टू ड्रॉ ऑन बोथ हिस्ट्री एज वेल एज थियरी. So in MA development program you will have courses, just as you saw in the case of MA in education program, courses that are largely called core courses. So they try to promote your understanding historically and theoretically on different both different dimensions of development and in different areas of development, right? So you can think of areas as social or political or cultural, economic for sure. तो उन सभी एरियाज के बारे में हमारा दृष्टिकोण कैसे डीप हो सके और गहरा हम अपना दृष्टिकोण बना सकें. तो एक तो सबसे पहली चीज वो है, वी ट्राई टू डू दैट इन दिस प्रोग्राम. बट अनलाइक courses in MA development studies, this course then tries to do 2 other things as well. जो दूसरा पॉइंट आप देख रहे हैं स्लाइड में, एक्सपीरियंशियल लर्निंग. सो इस एक्सपीरियंस इज व्हाट इज अ की वर्ड हियर. हमारे प्रोग्राम में 2 साल के अंदर स्टूडेंट्स को हम कोशिश करते हैं कि उनका जो दृष्टिकोण है या उनकी समझ है सब्जेक्ट्स के बारे में या एरियाज के बारे में, वो समझ वो उनके अंदर में एक एक्सपीरियंस के लेवल पे भी वो समझ डेवलप हो, ना सिर्फ एक बौद्धिक लेवल पे या दिमाग के लेवल पे या थ्योरीज के लेवल पे. ये हो सकता है कि इमोशनल एक डेवलपमेंट हो कि अंडर डेवलपमेंट का मतलब क्या है भारत में आज, भारत के भिन्न भागों में अंडर डेवलपमेंट का मतलब क्या है, और इसके ठीक उलट डेवलपमेंट का एक्सपीरियंस आज के समय में भारत में क्या है डिफरेंट एरियाज में. अगर आप ड्राईलैंड भारत में जाए वहाँ फार्मर्स की स्थिति क्या है, अगर आप वेटलैंड एरियाज में जाएं तो वहाँ पे क्या एडवांटेजेस और डिसएडवांटेजेस फार्मर्स आज फेस कर रहे हैं. तो ये एक्सपीरियंशियल लर्निंग की बात काफी महत्वपूर्ण है हमारे कोर्स में. और तीसरा फिर इन दोनों को लेकर के जो तीसरा एक इम्पॉर्टेंट डिमेंशन है, दैट इज यूजिंग अंडरस्टैंडिंग एंड एक्सपीरियंशियल लर्निंग to help us sharpen our skills to act, to intervene on issues of or challenges of development. So here the focus is on developing skills and developing ideas with which one can actually effectively intervene on the ground. और यहाँ ग्राउंड का मतलब आप ज्योग्राफी भी समझ सकते हैं, लेकिन ग्राउंड का मतलब यहाँ एक पर्टिकुलर थीम भी हो सकता है कि अगर किसी स्टूडेंट को फॉरेस्ट इश्यूज के ऊपर में काम करना है, या अगर किसी को हेल्थ इश्यूज के ऊपर में काम करना है या इंटरेस्ट है, तो वो फील्ड साइट आपकी हेल्थ और विद इन हेल्थ कोई एक पर्टिकुलर ज्योग्राफी या कोई एक पर्टिकुलर कम्युनिटी भी हो सकती है. सो in summary, the program tries to start with developing understanding among students on issues of development, then take them to experiential learning aspects, and then use that understanding to help them be part of groups that are working on these issues. तो मोटे तौर पे ये उद्देश्य हो गए प्रोग्राम के. अब मैं अगले 2-3 मिनट में ये कोशिश करूंगा आपको बताने की कि ये कैसे हम करते हैं. राजगोपाल, इफ वी कैन गो टू यस. So this is very similar to what Sindhu was telling you about MA education program, and Rajagopal also talked about it. अगर आप यहाँ देखें तो you will find that there are courses semester wise described, and then you put 2 semesters together, then you get a yearly annual distribution of courses. So semester 1 and semester 2 would be year 1, semester 3 and 4 would be year 2. Now, in semester 1 and 2, largely understanding or perspective-oriented courses are offered. These are mandatory courses, and they try to use disciplines within social sciences and natural sciences to illuminate our understanding of development or challenges of development. So you have sociology of modern India, where you learn about sociological approach to understand, questions of inequality, questions of, marginality, and questions of other kind of developmental concerns. Likewise, you have ecology and development, where you try to understand how ecological consciousness or ecological perspective can give you an altogether different lens to understand development challenge in India. So semester 1 में ये perspective courses हैं, अंडरस्टैंडिंग ओरिएंटेड कोर्सेज हैं. सेमेस्टर 2 में भी अंडरस्टैंडिंग ओरिएंटेड कोर्सेज हैं. सिर्फ एक अगर आप नीचे ध्यान दें, सेमेस्टर 1 के लास्ट में जो 2-3 कोर्सेज आप देख रहे हैं, वो एक्सपीरियंशियल लर्निंग को भी फिर लाते हैं. ओपन कोर्स आपकी हो गई, या फील्ड इमर्शन जो 2 वीक का होता है सेमेस्टर 1 के अंत में होता है, वो एक्सपीरियंशियल लर्निंग, जिसमें कि फील्ड में आप दो सप्ताह बिताते हैं, एंड यू ट्राई टू ऑब्जर्व द रियलिटीज, द लिव्ड रियलिटीज ऑफ communities in India. You understand processes of change, some of them desirable, some of them undesirable, some of them planned, some of them unplanned, and so on and so forth. But the idea is that for those 2 weeks you're trying to use that site as your classroom and reflect back on what your perspective courses were teaching you or talking about earlier before going to the field immersion. उसी तरीके से सेमेस्टर 2 में भी फील्ड अप्रेंटिसशिप है, जो थोड़ा लंबा है, 4 वीक का है. यहाँ पर आप किसी एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के भाग के तौर पे, उसके एक पार्ट के तौर पे आप 4 वीक बिताते हैं भारतीय किसी भी एक ज्योग्राफिकल लोकेशन में. यहाँ पे आप उस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के इंटरवेंशन को समझने की कोशिश करते हैं. सो दिस इज मोर लाइक एक्सपीरियंशियल एज वेल एज एक्शन पार्ट कमिंग टुगेदर हियर. और फिर उसके बाद सेमेस्टर 3 and 4 you will find both perspective and action oriented courses. These are electives that you choose on your own depending on your interest areas, but skill and understanding both can be very easily balanced in the kind of options that students choose from. Last में एक और चीज मैं यहाँ बोलना चाहूंगा कि फील्ड के लेवल पे सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट जो एक पार्ट सेमेस्टर 3 में आता है, वो है विंटर फील्ड प्रोजेक्ट, इन विच स्टूडेंट्स हैव a wide amount of options to choose what they might to work on in terms of their project, where they spend 6 weeks in the field, working on something. So it could be a research project, or it could be actually an intervention study, pilot intervention study. आप कुछ अपना कोई एक project आपको लगता है कि development में important है, पर्टिकुलर इंटरवेंशन, वो कैसे हम प्लान कर सकते हैं, कैसे उसको हम पायलट कर सकते हैं, वो भी आप इसके बारे में उसमें भी सोच सकते हैं आप। और अगर आप कोई ट्रेनिंग प्रोग्राम किसी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के साथ सीखना चाहते हैं, that also you can do. So Winterfield project is really a very important part of the course, which allows you to bring in experiential and the field action component very well. इन सब के साथ में, जैसे सिंधु ने पहले भी बताया कि हम we also promote open or let's say we promote students to learn on extracurricular areas, extracurricular themes of interest, which can range from as you said, from films to music to ecological sort of contexts and so on and so forth. So largely, this entire program, my last set of comments will be, this entire program has three advantages. Okay, one, MA development program is very finely balanced. Understanding, आपका दूसरा एक्सपीरियंस और तीसरा फील्ड एक्शन, तीनों का आपको संतुलन मिलेगा इस प्रोग्राम में। एक तो ये इंपॉर्टेंट चीज है। दूसरा, राजगोपाल ने भी ये बात कही, मैं उसको फिर दोहराऊंगा कि यू लर्न अ लॉट फ्रॉम द डाइवर्सिटी ऑफ द university and diversity of the classroom, MA development classroom itself. And the third one, very important, you also find a very enriching ecosystem around you, because the university is part of a larger ecosystem. So you have a number of people coming in, resource people, people coming for lecture, and so on and so forth. So in that sense, I think it's a wonderful program to perhaps think of, learn more about, and hopefully also to come in and attend the course. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks, Nilotpal. That was quite a good refresher for me as well, right? So there are a lot of questions coming on field practice and all. We'll probably take it towards the end. There are some questions on selection process, how the entrance test will be. We will cover that towards the end. Quickly, in case you're wondering, but wait to listen for the faculty, right? You don't have to go and look for organizations. We have a separate field practice team, right? A lot of my colleagues who work with organizations, and of course, with the Azim Premji Foundation for the MA Education Program, I think Sindhu will be best to talk about, because it's the field practice that you do, the place will be different. We'll cover that later. I think before I let you go, Nilotpal, I'm sure you'll come back. I think the broader question is asking, how is it different from development studies, right? So, I know we are not only focusing on looking at development through the lens of economics. No, most of the development studies program, unfortunately, tends to do that. But there could be other aspects that you would like to explain to Shiona. Then I'm ready to bring in Shrimoyee to talk about LLM.
Sure. So, sorry, I didn't catch the name. Shiona
Ann. Shiona Ann is Shiona's question.
Yeah. So, hello, Shiona. That's a very good question, actually. So the way I would respond to it is this: that development studies programs in India tend to be economics heavy. Where you largely look at the approach coming from inside of economics to illuminate or to perhaps address questions of underdevelopment in India. If you think of the idea of development studies outside of India, then the situation changes. Then you have a very interdisciplinary sort of approach, which tries to both understand, explain, and also suggest ways of addressing questions of development. Okay. Now, we do not have development studies here in the sense of not being economics dominant. We have a very important, very relevant set of courses coming from economics, both in the core courses as well as in the in the elective courses. but we try to go more towards multidisciplinary sort of understanding of development. So that would be one difference. The other difference is what Rajagopal was hinting at, that we also try to balance the understanding part of development studies with the experiential and the action oriented part of development action. Okay, and we are very, very keen about it. You can see that weight is actually also in the way the program is structured. So in that sense, it is not very, it's not very let's say loyal to theory only, although it is extremely important. But it is saying that let's also try to understand and critically understand theories from the side of practice and action. So in that sense, I think the answer is that this is different from the development studies programs.
Thank you. Thanks, Nilotpal.
Sure.
Now, in the interest of time, there are a lot of other questions we'll probably take towards the end. Those who are watching, I will answer questions on the selection process, but give us maybe 10 more minutes, 10, 15 more minutes. I'm now going to introduce my colleague Shrimoyee to be speaking about the LLM program. Before I hand it over to you, so those who tuned in late, we have finished the talk by my colleague Sindhu Mathai on the MA education program, and now we just heard Nilotpal Kumar explaining the details of the MA development program to prepare professionals who will act on the ground working with the community. And with that, let us now talk about lawyers, right? Lawyers who are keen to understand issues of law or public policy and how it directly impacts or should aid the process of development in India, right? So Shrimoyee, she's a trained lawyer, she's a legal anthropologist, she has worked extensively in a number of human rights litigation efforts in various parts of the country. You should, I mean, I'm repeating what I said, their details, their readings, their writings, the work you should read on the profile page, which I did this morning, when I got to do a lot of the work that they've done. So over to you, Shrimoyee, to talk about the one-year Master of Laws program at Azim Premji University.
Thank you, Rajgopal. Welcome, everyone. I'm Shrimoyee Ghosh, as Rajgopal said, and I'm here to talk about the LLM in Law and Development. So firstly, to flag off that it's a little bit different from the other postgraduate programs that have been introduced today, because it conforms to the Bar Council's requirement of being a one-year program. So in that sense, it packs in quite a lot into this 1 year. Like all the programs at Azim Premji University, it is very much a program that is interested in questions of social engagement, social practice, and orientation towards how law can be a part of social transformation. So I think in that sense, it's unique in LLM programs, at least in offer in this country, in terms of its singular focus on questions of law as a contextual discipline, as an interdisciplinary discipline, as a discipline that is very, very embedded in social processes, in social, political, economic institutions. And so there's really a focus, as in the other programs as well, on practice and theory. And we know that traditional legal education tends to be very doctrinally focused, in the sense that we think of law as a kind of self-insulated discipline that tends to follow its own rules, that is quite undecipherable to the outside world. But in the LLM program here, we see law as very much connected to other processes, other institutions, and so therefore really critical to understanding public policy questions around constitutional law, around citizenship, around ecology, environment, rights, justice, those kinds of big questions that the law is very, very interwoven with, but as a technical discipline often is not taught in that sense. So in terms of our so it's a one-year program. We have 36 credits. It combines theory and practice, social engagement. There's a strong field-based study component. Actually, that component has two parts to it. There's an internship component, and then there is a group project-based component. I'll talk about it a little bit more when we go to the slide which talks about the credit structure. So that's basically just to give you an overview of the kind of orientation, the kind of emphasis that the program has, why it's considered to be not just an LLM, but a LLM in law and development. And it's about an interdisciplinary, contextual law and social sciences approach to understanding legal questions that confront us today, and both legal and developmental questions in the broadest sense, questions of equity, questions of justice, questions of marginalization, things like that. Rajgopal, if you could just, yes, thank you. So as we said, that it's a very, very, very packed program. We pack in a lot. It has a strong theory, perspective building component, which is mainly through the core courses. We have 4 core courses: Law and Justice in a Globalizing World, which focuses on kind of conceptual and legal theory kind of questions. You could think of it as an advanced jurisprudence course, but very, very much in the context of developments that are taking place, cultural, political, economic developments that are shaping the law and which the law is constantly shaping as well. So that's Law and Justice in a Globalizing World. We have Law and Development, which looks at questions of law's impact in terms of social equity and development questions. Who makes these decisions, what institutions are responsible, what theories are responsible, and how does law again engage with these constantly and shape them. And then we have research methods and legal writing, which is a methods course, and specifically focusing on interdisciplinary research in the law. Something that many other courses don't really talk about, and that we're very, very keen. So all of us who teach at the department actually are scholars, not just scholars of the law, but also scholars of either politics, public policy, economics, and other disciplines. And so we bring those kind of methodological and disciplinary insights into also talking about the law. So while it's very rigorous in a doctrinal kind of sense of understanding the law as a discipline with its own methods, it also takes very seriously that law is a social language. Law is a institutional process, and that requires a different orientation to understanding the law as well. And then we have comparative public law and systems of governance, which is kind of a comparative constitutional law, public law course. Our course at the LLM has traditionally had quite a strong focus on constitutional law, public policy, and the intersections between those questions and development, which are obvious to anybody who's looking at the world today. And so, so that's a kind of a comparative laws component, which is also a part of the mandatory course curriculum, and which is taught in the second semester. Then we have elective courses. We have 3 electives which you opt for in the first semester, and one elective. Yeah, you have the electives are distributed as 2 electives in the second semester and 1 elective in the first semester. So you have 3 across the year. These are kind of deep dives into particular areas of interest. They can range from something like foundations of private law, where you understand actually the philosophical and conceptual basis of company law and companies and corporate structures, to something like the law and the nation, where you try to understand how constitutional processes, the Constitutional Assembly debates framed the idea of India as a political community. You can have something like on implementation and monitoring, which can really look at some public administration and public policy questions relating to the law, and how do you evaluate legal schemes and legal policies and legislations. So it's depending on your interest, it's a wide range of things that are on offer, mostly interdisciplinary in nature. And then you have, of course, a large component of field practice. And as I said, there are 2 parts to it. One is an internship, which is an individual component where you intern with an organization for 3 weeks. And then you have a group component, which is where you get to design your own legal policy sort of project. You can design an intervention, you can design a legislation, you can have other kind of a project design. You'll have a supervisor who will guide you through that process. So it's a year-long, very intensive, workshop-driven process with a field immersion component of 3 weeks, where you actually go and into the field and conduct research to kind of flesh out this field component. And then you have dissertation, which is the other compulsory and also very intense part, and something that students, I think, really learn from in our course, which is really legal writing, legal research and legal writing, how to draft a question, how to write a research paper. And this is a part of the Bar Council's mandate. And so we have a 10,000-word dissertation with a really intensive supervision process. And the research methods course kind of feeds into that process. In terms of what our students have gone on to do and what might be possibilities to explore, well, if law is, as we see, very crucial to understanding social transformation and is itself shaped a lot by social processes, then any kind of research that looks at that intersection between law and society, any kind of practice that is socially engaged, so social justice lawyering, cause lawyering, public interest lawyering, any kind of advocacy campaign work on rights issues, on social justice issues, NGOs, think tanks, research organizations that are working at the intersection of law, policy, and society would be a place that would welcome, I think, students with the kind of skills and the kind of orientation that we are hoping to develop. And these are all careers that our students have gone into, many of them go into teaching, and many of them go into research, and some of them go into practice. So that's it from me. And I'll be happy to handle more questions.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Shrimoyee. That was quite a detailed one. And what was exciting for me, especially when this program was launched, the field practice for lawyers, it's not in the court. It's in the real field where yeah, it's in the field. So thanks for that explanation. One quick thing before you go is the selection process. The entrance test is slightly different from the other 2 programs. It's a kind of a legal essay that they have to write, and not an essay as compared to. Maybe you could just briefly speak about what is the expectation and how many words should they write. It's there in one of the slides that is coming up, which I'll take them through, but it would be good to hear from you straight. Yeah.
Sure. So, yes, thanks, Rajgopal, for flagging that. I didn't get to that. So, yes, there is a qualitative subjective element to the legal entrance test, and that is a thousand word is the maximum word limit legal essay that you're expected to write. Usually it is about some kind of critical public policy or legal controversy or question that is confronting the country or the world today. So broad, very, it broadly tests you on some subject knowledge of the law, but it's also about how do you think about a particular kind of problem that is confronting the world, and as a lawyer, what are the approaches that the law would come up with, but what are the limits to those approaches is also something that we want to see if you have. So it's really a test of legal reasoning for sure, but also legal imagination in that sense.
Right. Thank you. Since there are a lot of questions asking what is the entrance test going to look like, so I just brought that slide for it's of course you should practice, you should prepare for the entrance test, right? Seemingly it may look like a simple entrance test, but it's worth preparing for the entrance test. There's a multiple choice component, trying to understand your English reading comprehension capacities, a passage given, how do you respond? There are some questions on your quantitative reasoning. I was going to say mathematical, but it's not my 10 standard level. Can you interpret graphs, charts, percentage, right? Those kind of calculation questions. There's a couple of questions on social awareness. That's common for all. And then there is a essay question that you should attempt very seriously, right? It's, Shrimoyee just explained how it's going for the lawyers, but if you're a fresh graduate looking to join development education, you respond to a question given in the form of an essay, which I don't think you will have to sit and prepare. It's not like write 100 words or 800 words about your. It'll be a question, contemporary question that you need to respond to. Right. What I'll do, Shrimoyee, I have some couple of slides which I'll just quickly run through. I'll just put you backstage for 5 minutes, and I'm going to bring back you, Nilotpal, and Sindhu together so we can answer some questions that we could answer as a team. Right? Okay.
Sure.
So thank you all those who joined. I'm just going to quickly run through some of the slides after the closure of LLM. The first thing first, if you're looking at applying for our early round, that is what we call the first round, please do complete your forms as quickly as possible. It's not a difficult form. You need a photograph to upload, and you make the payment. And we're not asking for you to upload any documents at this point of time. It is going to be a provisional admission. All your degree certificates, everything will be verified later. Those who complete the form by 24th November, you'll be invited for an admit card will be issued for an entrance test. We have the test at around 30 plus centers in the country across, and those who shortlist, I just hope many of you get shortlisted for the interviews, and then the interviews will happen early next year and much ahead of the class start, that is July 23. You will have your offers in hand by March 23. If you think that's too early, I want to apply only for the second round. That's there. The dates are there. I'm not going to read out the dates. So that's the timelines, right? Eligibility, I just explained. I think when I look at the PG postgraduate programs here, which is I'm talking about the MA program, which is interdisciplinary in nature. Whatever you studied in your undergraduate degree, that's important for us, right? That's important for us. So you're going to build on what you have learned in your UG program. It could be BA English, it could be BA in Tamil, right? Whatever you learned, it could be political science, history, engineers joining our program, right? Science students wanting to work in the area of how do curriculum is required to teach science better in schools or mathematics better in schools. Learning mathematics has to be mathematics has to be the right of every child, right? It is not only for engineers. So so anybody can apply for the programs. Of course, you should have a Heart and Mind for Social Change. The law program requires you to have a law degree, either a 5-year degree or a 3-year degree after your graduation. Master of Public Health, I just saw some questions, so that we have not started inviting applications. When we invite, the program does require you to have, of course, a bachelor degree plus minimum 2 years of work or field experience in the form of serious fellowship, right? Economics program, again, we'll announce next month admission for 2023. This I explained. I'm not going to explain this again. We spoke about the selection process. Just quickly, if you're new to Azim Premji University, you should remember that when I spoke about the philanthropic nature of the university, the support doesn't stop only in the terms of scholarships, or which is important. I mean, in a time like this, that you get access to higher education through need-based scholarships, right? We don't. It's not merit scholarship. You've already shown your merit by completing your graduation and clearing the selection process. We have a lot of other support mechanisms in campus on your arrival, right? And when I mean, I'm not going to read this. You can go through. And when I was preparing the slide, one of my colleagues pointed out that we also provide laptops, right, for students on scholarships, so that the 2 years of the study here, is because we will need to access to a lot of software tools and readings and things like that. And then not to forget a very active placement cell, reaching out to organizations so that you can straight away kickstart your career after completion of the program. It's almost there. We spoke about financial assistance. This is there on the website. I don't want to be repeating this. So we have need-based scholarships, but go onto the website. If you need more further details as to, we kept it as transparent as possible on the website. But one thing to remember is, if you come with work experience and want to study at Azim Premji University, especially for the MA programs, your 50% of the tuition fee is waived off. With that, placement cell, I briefly spoke. I mean, the social sector, I always feel sometimes that they're kind of not in the limelight, but they do fantastic work behind the scenes, right? So I just took the liberty of mentioning some of the organizations. I know I'm not doing justice only by mentioning a few names there. There's a lot. I cannot be preparing a slide of 120 organizations that come for placements here, but I just picked Pradhan, Eklavya, or some well-meaning organizations. We also have started receiving government livelihood missions coming for recruitment. That's quite interesting. I mean, I just mentioned Kudumbashree, Kerala coming for recruitment, but we could also see the Jharkhand livelihood mission or the Karnataka state livelihood missions wanting to come for placements. But if you think that, no, I don't want to work somewhere, I want to set up my own social enterprise to solve complex problem, that's also possible. We do also have some, I was looking to the elective courses, which is probably not spoken enough about Azim Premji University. The range of elective choices that you have. I mean, if I need to go back, I wish I was studying in a university like this. Electives also in the area of social enterprises, also a social enterprise cell, which will kind of help you. And I'm saying this confidently because 30 of our more graduates have set up their own social enterprise. It could be, if I take names, it could be Bastar Se Bazaar Tak of Satyendra Singh Lilhare, or it could be Vidya Viday in Tamil Nadu that Ram and Regila founded, or Ayang in Majuli, Assam. So the possibilities are immense. I'm sure you know how to get in touch with us. We're just an email away or a phone call away. With that, I'm going to bring back all my colleagues who's interacted with you for I'll probably read through any questions that we should answer from the comments. This is both for you, Shrimoyee and Nilotpal. The question is, this is a lawyer. What should I do? Should I do LLM in Law and Development, or should I do a 2-year MA program? MA development program is the question. And the question is, what should I give a first preference to? Sahil, my quick answer to Sahil is that you make a choice, right? You make a choice of what your first preference should be. And when it comes to the entrance test, you will have the opportunity, you'll have to spend more time, you'll have the opportunity to appear, you'll have to write both the essays, is my understanding. Yeah. So this, I think it's a background noise from my end, I don't know. But yeah, if you want to quickly answer from a lawyer perspective, because we have experiences of both. Yeah.
Sure. The LLM program centers the law and its relationship to development and society. And so therefore you will be studying, you will be studying about the law in every single one of your course and electives. You will be looking at the law, of course, from a very interdisciplinary, very contextual, very critical lens, which can sometimes be quite quite disorienting when we have been trained to think of the law as only an instrument of rule and governance, and to kind of to see the wider possibilities of law as an instrument of social change, as a way of shaping society, and all of that. So I think there is a lot of overlap between that the perspective in MA in development and the law and development. But I think one core difference is that the law, and if you are really keen on continuing to see the law as where you are anchored to, then it probably makes sense to do law and development. If you want to move into the wider world and not and see the law as one of many other things that you're interested in seeing as interventional possibilities, then maybe the development program will give you a wider range um, of what's going on, the histories of what has happened, and also what are the possibilities for intervention.
Thank you. Thanks, Shrimoyee. Nilotpal, you would like to add to that?
No, I think I would just echo what Shrimoyee said. I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
you will be diversifying out of the discipline in which you have trained, and perhaps the discipline that you practice.
Yeah.
You'll be diversifying out of it, both in terms of methods as well as the content. Now, if you're happy with that
Yeah.
diversification, if you want to diversify and look at what other perspectives, content, and methods there are to bring about effective social change, then welcome to MATEV. But on the other hand, if you are going to deepen your understanding of law as a method and an area of substantive engagement to understand its role in change, then perhaps MA in LLM and development might be actually a
Yeah,
better
yeah.
idea.
And just to add, and Shrimoyee, if I understand the electives that they have to do, the LLM students have to do, we also open up some of the MA development elective, am I right? Elective program courses for LLM graduates also, right? So it's not only that all electives are law based, some are interdisciplinary from the themes of development, correct? Yeah, maybe you can just mention that.
No, I don't want to give the impression that you only have to study law-based courses. Your core courses will be law-based in a real sense, but there is a very active and vibrant cross-listing across the postgraduate schools, and so we encourage cross-listing, and we invite students from the other programs as well into the law electives. So and we have courses like transformations of Indian citizenship, for example, which is like something that an education practitioner, a development practitioner, as well as a lawyer, has something to contribute to and something to understand. So
yeah. I think I just missed Sindhu. I think she got locked out. I was going to ask her a question on the field practice. I think she's going to be back. I'm going to add her back. Yeah, Sindhu, thank you for joining back. Sindhu, the next question was, there was a question on field practice, right? Whether that will be provided by the university or do they have to search organizations. I would like you to talk, because I know the field practice component of MA education has changed quite considerably in the last 2 years. Maybe you could just talk about that briefly. Yeah.
Yeah, so for MA education, we rely extensively on our network of field institutions in the Azim Premji Foundation. So both your field practice one, which is called a field immersion into the public education system, as well as field practice three, which is a long 3-month field practice, will both happen in the field institutes of the Azim Premji Foundation. You will be sent to specific locations based on your choice of subject area, as well as a little bit based on your familiarity with the language. And this will be organized by the field practice team in the MA education program. I think Raj Gopal just mentioned that there are specific people working in field practice in the postgraduate programs, and MA education also has specific people working on this, so you need worry. The second field practice component, which is an organizational internship, there too we will play an active role in matching you with specific organizations that we've had both long-term relationships with, as well as newer organizations we continuously look for every year. And we try and see that the organization is sort of aligned with the objectives of the field practice. But that again is done by the field practice group, and 4-5 of you in groups will be sent to these organizations, right? So yes, a lot of support from the university for all this.
And for those who are watching, whatever Sindhu said is more or less true for all the programs, right? The way it is, when each of the programs does have a field practice coordinator to ensure that, because those are credited courses, right? You need to mean this is a field practice component that is treated as important as a classroom taught course. So there's enough support that you get. Sindhu, there's an interesting question. I'd like to answer this. Sai Lokesh asking that Sai is a teacher. How will this full-time MA education program benefit his career as an educator, right? As compared to a distance program from, say, IGNOU doing with work. So I think to ask it differently, is it worthwhile leaving his job as a teacher and spending 2 years at Azim Premji University? You please start, then I'll probably give some examples of people who have already done that successfully. Oh.
Yeah, I was just thinking of that. There have been students who've taken off a couple of years and come and studied here. And from there, reflections post the program, as well as the way they engaged, right? There are some things I can share. So one is, of course, our pedagogic practices in the classroom, mentoring of students, the strong field component that we have, right, which is based on direct experience. So all of this clearly calls for full-time postgraduate program, and therefore those who have been working professionals who've taken off this time have always found it meaningful. In fact, we feel that they engage very well with the program because they're able to connect, right, whatever we call theory, with their experiences, reflect on it meaningfully, go back sometimes to the same locations and relook, right, at their practices in the light of what they've learned here. So therefore, I would say, yeah, so pedagogic practices, field components which involve direct experience, close mentoring, and a peer group which is very diverse, already mentioned, from fresh graduates, from multiple disciplines to other working professionals like you. You would definitely benefit from the classroom space and the discussions that happen.
That's right. He'll probably bring in more of his experience into the classroom in classroom discussions. Plus, I think you're mentioning that I'm reading a comments exactly. See, this completion of the MA education programs would open up much more other career opportunities. That as a curriculum designer or a teacher educator or various things that you would like to do in life. And that's quickly answering. And this not for MA education, right? I mean, if you are seriously looking at a academic inquiry, if I can say so, please look for a full-time program. If age is on your side, if you have the academic appetite, if I can say to spend, please consider a full-time program because you need that. Because here, the way it is not finding things on the internet. Let me tell you very clearly, like it is when I look at each of the course, right, they spend, the faculty members, to me, thank you. It was like going through, I was just imagining sitting in a classroom they have kind of curated what you should be reading, right? Every semester they go back. It's not one textbook that you'll read for sociology of modern India or one book that you'll read for philosophy of education, right? Second, we don't believe in the idea of one high stake end of the semester examination. That's something that we clearly don't, because learning to happen, we have kind of split it into different assessments, assignment plans. So if you want to have that kind of a teaching, learning, peer learning process to happen, field practice to happen, right? There's time to reflect. Please look for a full-time degree program wherever you have a choice. I'm sure you have a choice to go wherever. So I would say that's not, you don't have the time, if you can't leave your job, it's only then you look for a distance education program. I think with this, we kind of answered a lot of questions. We should slowly, I'm just tempted to stay back because there are more than 60 of them watching, but in the interest of time, I'll just take one last question of Nitin. Does the university have a restriction with respect to working professionals? I would say that we encourage working professionals to join the program because uh, clearly you bring in some kind of a professional discipline. I mean, there's no waiver in terms of classroom timing. There's a full time. You're joining a full time program. You'll have to be on campus for all the classes. But I didn't quite understand what did you mean by restrictions. I mean, if you're free, while we encourage people to stay on campus, but if you feel like staying outside, it's not a residential program as such, right? So there are people who up and down from the city or nearby to attend the classes. So yeah, academic time, we start at around 8:30 in the morning. If I mean, I've done a little bit of academic administration. If I remember from old times, 8:30 in the morning, and depending on the program, the classes would go on till the afternoon or some class in the evening. I think the best time to study here is in the MA program is in the second year, where it's electives. So it all depends on what kind of elective choices you have made. I've seen students finishing all their electives Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and going for their own field work on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and coming back to the campus on Sunday and attending classes. So it's quite flexible. It's a challenging learning environment. Be ready to read a lot. Be ready to write a lot of assignment. Of course, in that process, we hope you'll be thinking and you'll graduate as critical thinkers, right? Or you'll graduate as an independent thinking, socially conscious, responsible citizen, and working in the domains that you have chosen. With that, I think we should end. Any closing comments my colleagues would want to say, and then we should wrap this session. Okay, we'll end the session now. Yeah. So thank you very much. Thank you all for joining. All the best for the entrances coming up, and we all look forward to seeing you, many of you on the campus. Yeah. Bye bye.
Thank you, everyone.